Great. Hello everyone, welcome to VanArts After Hours. I'm your host, Leonardo Hernandez. With me I have your other host, Maya Adams.
Hi.
And today we have a very, very important guest, VanArts' very own SVL teacher, Fernando Gil. How are you?
Hi, doing fine. Thank you very much.
That was such an energetic opening. I loved it.
Thank you. I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, that's true. You haven't. But yeah, we wanted to bring you on, ask you a few questions. It's a really chill podcast, so we're just here to talk and just have fun. Yeah, nothing serious. No horribly serious questions, but we have a few just prepared just for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to make sure.
Yeah, that's why it's
Sure.
After Hours. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Fernando.
Yeah.
Okay, what can I say about myself? I'm a 49-year-old Mexican who flew to Vancouver some 4.5 years ago, maybe a little more. And then I spent a year and a half back in Mexico due to the pandemic, which kind of cuts down on my residence time for
Yeah.
quite a bit. But yeah, now I'm fully here. I graduated as a graphic designer, so it's kind of surprising even for me that I ended up in the animation industry. But that's pretty much what I've been doing over the years, save a brief interlude of about 4 years when I was a marketing manager, if you can believe that,
Wow.
for an
Marketing.
industrial coatings company, which
What?
Wow.
is rather like, yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected
Yeah,
that. I'm gonna be honest.
That's the thing we want to explore in this podcast, like the things you wouldn't expect, basically.
Yeah,
Those kind of stories.
The little
So
surprises.
let me tell
Yeah.
you about my life.
On
No,
the
it's
day I
just
was
that
born.
at least as far as jobs go, I've been really lucky, but there were a few things that I just didn't see coming. For example, my doorway into animation was a very, very, very lucky move. I had been. I started working for my university's newspaper because I got a scholarship for a master's degree, but one of the prizes to pay was to actually work for the school, and I ended up being the editor of the newspaper. So on like my second issue, one of the communications majors comes in and hands me an interview, and it's before that I gotta say I studied graphic design because there was no such thing as animation in Mexico at the time. Maybe today things are different, but back then, zero. And I just didn't have the money to come to study to Canada or to the US. So I had chosen graphic design as well. I can do this, and I was happy with that, honest. But then this student comes in and hands me an interview to an animator, a Mexican animator, who had gone to Sheridan College and graduated from there, then worked for DreamWorks in Prince of Egypt,
Ooh,
and
that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Ants,
Oh, I love
and
ants.
had come to Mexico, and he was setting up a studio.
Wow.
So I decided, well, this is my chance. I basically dropped everything and ran to get an interview with him. And I was lucky enough that he was looking for someone with no experience. Because I mean, other than watching every single behind the scenes documentary that I could find for Disney, I really had no other knowledge about animation. I mean, I had seen it done, but I had never really done it myself. I did a couple of projects on my own, but it was like caveman things.
Yeah.
Like really no resources, no proper equipment. So he said, I can hire you as an animation assistant, which basically was a cleanup guy, because knowing that you don't have any former experience, means you don't have any vices.
Oh,
or
that's
any bad
true.
techniques.
I've heard about that.
So I basically got trained in animation as I worked, and so this studio was open for like 2 years, which were like unbelievably good for me, although unbelievably heavy. I mean, I would leave the studio every day around 9 or 10 p.m. and I lived across the city, so it was like a 2-hour
the
journey to get
commute.
there. Stay there from 9 to 10 or something like that, then return home, arrive at midnight, and it was the same thing
Every day.
Sorry, was this where in Mexico?
I was living in Satélite. I don't know if that tells you something. It's like the northern area
Yep.
of the city.
Oh, okay.
For
And-
anyone who doesn't know about Mexico, we have a huge amount of traffic.
Oh, really?
Mexico City is 1 hour away from Mexico City.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're going to be on the road for an hour at least. So, but this was, the studio was in Coyoacán, which is on the southern side of the city. And I was living in the northern side of the city.
Oh,
so
so you
2
gotta go
hours
all the way.
was on a good day. If not, you were to be stuck in traffic for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, every
maybe.
day. That reminds me of
It was really
California.
bad. But I did learn a lot. I worked with, I would say, the best animators that that were working at the time. But then the studio closed, so I had to scramble, look for work. It was like the early internet days. So one of the hip way to look for a job was to search the internet in boards. I eventually got a call for an interview, and that turned out to be like the marketing manager job that I was telling you about. I never really figured out how they come to choose me, but they did. And to me, that was very lucky because I was very closely working with the vice president for Mexico and Latin America, because the office was very small. My job was actually depending on the company structure. My actual boss was working in Houston for the regional marketing management, but on the day-to-day issues, I would deal with the Mexican vice president for Mexico and Latin America. So I consider that time that I worked there like my master in business administration, because I was really, really close to the day-to-day dealings of the company. I had to help the sales department a lot in getting the sales material that they needed. So I got to hear like a lot of business talk straight from the salesmen or the distributors that work for the company. So it was like 4 years of a really intense learning period for me, because nothing in my career had prepared me for that.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting. But eventually it kind of wore me down. I decided to quit because I really didn't have a lot of creative things to do. And at first it was learning, so it was cool. But then after a while it was like, oof, there's nothing that I can do to express like any creative thought here.
Yeah.
So I ended up quitting, and at the same time I got very lucky again, because I got in touch with the owner of the company that had closed 4 years before. He was setting up another animation studio, because after closing that one, he had gone back to DreamWorks. He then worked in Shrek and Shrek 2.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and he came back and decided to put a new animation studio. But that time, I got hired as an animator, not as a cleanup artist. And eventually, that led to a time when I got a course in harmony because he was weighing the option of stopping to work on paper and moving to digital. So I ended up being the one that got the training to help evaluate because my animation director at the time didn't speak English, so he couldn't be trained. So I got lucky again, and so I spent 3 weeks in Montreal, and it was glorious. Beautiful city, beautiful weather, lots of learning, and that in time led me to end up as animation director for that studio a few years later, which was very, very appreciated by me at the time. I then moved on to a different studio to work in a couple of in 3 Mexican feature films, 2 of which won the Mexican version of the Oscar, which is called the Ariel, for the best animated picture of the year.
What movies?
The first one was called La Increíble Historia del Niño de Piedra, which would translate to The Incredible Story of the Stone Boy. It's kind of like a fable. A girl that finds a statue of a boy that was transformed into stone because he didn't appreciate life.
Oh, okay.
So he ends up losing touch with his sight because he doesn't appreciate what he sees, and ends up losing his hearing because he doesn't care about what he hears, like the family talking and all that, and eventually gets so cut off from the world that he becomes a stone statue. And the movie is about the journey to bring him back to life. So it was it was based on a book, and it was a rather charming story done with almost no budget, which is the way with a lot of Mexican movies. And that was the first one. That was the first time that I actually worked on a complete feature film, because what was it, like 3 or 4 years before that, I had worked in 1/3 of a movie. Back then it was the eve, let's say, of the Mexican independence, bicentennial, and revolution, 100 years. So there was a lot of events planned by the government, and one of the things that were made were a lot of movies. So there was this animated movie called La Revolución de Juan Escopeta, or Juan Escopeta's Revolution, Juan Escopeta's name and last name. And but the studio that had the project was too small for it. They didn't have the manpower to complete a whole feature film. So what they did was they outsourced 1/3 to the studio that I was working for, and 1/3 to another one in León. And the 3 studios ended up doing the complete film. But it was that was the first time that I worked for a feature film, because back before that, all my work had been done in advertisement, basically. There was a brief stint in a Mexican animated show called El Chavo del Ocho, which is rather famous. I worked there for 2 years on seasons 2 and 3. And it was, but just being able to work on a feature is an experience like no other.
Wow.
And I really appreciated it because the director, a guy named Jorge Estrada, he was also the writer of the script. He acknowledged that he didn't know anything about animation, so he approached the project like it was live action. every time that he would review the dailies, he would tell us, he wouldn't tell us the normal things that animator directors tell, that is like, I don't know, check your arcs, or move this arm to a better silhouette or something like that. He wouldn't say nothing, none of that. He would instead give us direction like, I want this scene to be more dramatic, so I want to see more stress on the main character, or this is a very cheerful moment for this character, so I want to see more happiness on him, but left all the creative
a lot of creative
about
freedom.
how to perform, how to reflect this direction in the actual characters. So that was a really great project on the creative side.
I can imagine. Sounds fun.
It was.
Yeah. And putting in a little question in here. So between the being directed by someone who knows animation, and animation director, let's say, and Jorge Estrada, who, like you said, give you direction and freedom. What is the contrast? What are the pros and cons you see in both from your experience?
Okay, well, the one thing that has working with an experienced animation director is that they know how to optimize stuff.
Yeah.
So they'll give you direction in order to make it easier for you, to make it clearer for the audience in a way that reflects their own experience. So whenever you work for an experienced director, you can tell because they will be very keen to point out the things that you can do better faster. And the upside of working with a director that doesn't know animation is that you get a lot of freedom. And overall, I'm not sure if there's one particular way of working that you can say that is objectively better.
Of course.
But one thing's for sure. The process that went through with Juan Escopeta was one of respect. He respected our creative input. We respected his direction view of the project. We respected his intentions or his narrative for the characters. So we tried to bring the best in our work to service that narrative. But he also respected our work because he wouldn't belittle the effort that you were doing into bringing those characters to life. Granted, the movie didn't have all the time that it deserved. It was kind of rushed, but I do feel like it was a great experience. Could have been better with more money and with more time, sure, but it was what it was, and I really enjoyed the result. I mean, it was when we saw the premiere of the movie, we had never seen the whole thing. We were only aware of the little chunks of the story that were sent to our studio.
Oh, that must have been fun to see the entire thing then, yeah.
It was really interesting, and I left the theater feeling that I had watched a good movie. Technical issues here and there, yes, but the movie was very good. The story was very interesting. It respected the audience, because that's one of the things that I've seen in animation, that sometimes it spoon feeds you everything that you need to understand, and I saw none of that in that project. It was pure heartfelt narrative, I would say.
Wow.
So it was really intense. The whole movie is set in the Mexican Revolution era, so it's a lot of turmoil, war, torn apart families, a lot of violence, and it's not sugar coated at all. It's like this is what it was. Of course, you're not shown like the gory parts of it, but there's even um, an epic battle scene where there's the two main characters are entering one city trying to look. The main plot is that the main protagonist of the movie is a young kid named Gapo. He's looking for his brother who went missing with the revolution. So he's trying to find him and bring him home. So they enter this city because they think they might find some information there. And as they're entering, the army is also marching on the city. So there's this whole clash all around them. And yeah, the movie shows just how rough it was, I would say. And I really appreciated that because it is happening on a very rough patch of Mexican history. And it is, even though it's animation, it's presenting it in a both a respectful but intense way.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Yeah, to all our listeners, be sure to look for it and watch it. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, I definitely want to say.
I would like that. If somebody has an opinion of that movie, I want to hear it.
I would like to know.
Yeah.
Someone's just going to come up to you and be like, oh, actually, I watched it. And they're going to go over it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, with teachers, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but recently with Katie, he came up with one of her teachers, like, hey, I watched that thing and you worked on, so we'll make sure it happens, don't worry.
That must be a fun feeling, having someone recognize something you worked on. Oh my God. That'd be great. That'd be great if someone did that to me. Maybe one day, but that sounds great.
Oh, just give yourself time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it had a very small run in Mexico because at the time, films were done in actual film.
Mm-hmm.
And just the pure price of making another copy is ridiculously expensive. As far as I can recall, it's like, I don't know, like $50,000 or something like that, just to create one copy of a film.
No.
So whenever nowadays things are different with digital films.
Yeah.
So the actual price of distributing a film is just a bunch of hard discs.
Unless you're Christopher Nolan, of course.
Unless you're Christopher Nolan. And that means rebuilding the whole theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, for any regular movie right now, it's just a matter of distributing a bunch of hard drives and that's it. But back then, whenever you heard that a movie was opening in 200 theaters at the same time, you knew that the studios were putting serious money behind it.
Mm.
So, for example, with Juan Escopeta, I believe that at most, like 10 copies were made.
Well,
That was the whole run of the film. So they decided, instead of like showing the film and then it's gone, what they did was they chose to premiere it in Puebla, which was the city where the main studio was, and they showed it in 10 theaters in Puebla. And then they took that to Mexico City and they showed it in 10 theaters in Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
So it,
Kinda
even
hops
though
around.
it was never more than 10 theaters, it was shown for almost a year, I think, during the year of the celebrations of the 100 years of Mexican Revolution and 200 years of Mexican independence. So I thought that was a rather clever strategy.
yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
very smart.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, but that's just how few people got to see the film. So even in the Mexican animation industry, it's rather uncommon to find somebody who has seen it, because it was a very, very, very small run.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take the least popular animated movie today, and you're going to find it in any movie complex. And Granted, if it's really bad, it's just going to be there for a couple of weeks and then it's kicked out. But at least it gets shown in so many theaters that the actual numbers add up. But that movie was shown in very, very little places, and that's just the way the industry works, or it worked back then. I'm not sure what the conditions are right now. If you want to, for example, if you guys decided to make a feature film and have it distributed in Mexico, with the advent of digital movie theaters, I'm pretty sure it would be a little easier. Not sure how much, but at least a little easier. Mm-hmm.
I can imagine. Man, yeah, feature film. Oh my God, having just 10 theaters and having it hop around, it kind of gives the idea that one city sees it and then word travels faster than the movie, and then other cities are talking about it by the time it gets there, and kind of builds up a little bit of hype or people going around talking about the movie. At least I'd imagine that might be what it was like at the time.
That's the hope.
Yeah. That's the dream. That's a dream that we all hope for.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very special topic, but we have a very avid League of Legends player in this table.
No, you don't. No.
I want to say names, but it's not me.
It's him over there, all the way over there off camera, not me.
I'm here, by the way.
Yeah, hi, Carl.
Hi, Carl.
You can't hear me that well on the mic, but I'm controlling the behind-the-scenes stuff.
And he's not the big fan of League of Legends.
No.
Yeah.
He is. I'm not. Except for, I guess, Riot and Arcane. That's different. That's a whole different thing.
Arcane is something different.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Everyone loves Arcane.
Okay, let's make this perfectly clear. If you are a fan of Arcane, you are a fan of League of Legends.
That's true.
You are not a gamer or a player of League of Legends, but you are a fan of that universe.
I'll take that. I'm a fan of the universe. I'm not a fan of some of the players, but I'll take that. I do like League. I do like the storytelling. I like how it's evolved over 10 plus years, and how good they've gotten at storytelling compared to just like some of the early days, and how much they've expanded upon their characters and stories. And it's so interesting just going out and seeing just small things that they do, because there's League, that's the big, League, great, but there's just small little tidbits they do. They've made games for certain characters, and let's expand on this, and just the regions, and I think sometimes it just ties together so nicely in a little boat. That was Arcane. That was them just taking one city, another city, let's focus on this, and they did such a good job on that. Oh my God, I loved Arcane.
As you can see, we don't have fans here.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Particularly not Carl.
Minimal fan. But yeah, go ahead. I know what you're gonna ask. I know exactly what you're gonna ask.
Well, building up on what you said, what they've done with definitely their storytelling, their characters, definitely a great accomplishment. Something really to be respected and to learn from. But I heard from a little bird that you actually worked on some project for Riot Games.
What?
Yep.
Surprising. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known. Really?
I can totally see the surprise in your eyes.
I'm so shocked.
Shocked.
Not at all known. Like you were the one that mentioned it.
Listen.
Yeah, I wouldn't have heard it from you.
Listen.
But it was like some 7 years ago probably. I don't really remember the dates, but I was working for a studio named Photosynthesis Media, and at the time, I'm not sure what his job was really, because the thing is, Photosynthesis was part of a media company. Its main business area had been at the time being producers of a lot of art cinema movies made in Mexico. It's called Mantarraya Films.
Oh yeah, I heard about it.
So and they decided to set up an animation studio. Actually, when they did, the Stone Boy movie was the first project. And eventually I got to work in 2 other features with them. But we were a part of that group. And this guy, as I said, I never understood what his job actually was. But he was very, very close to Riot Mexico. And there came a time when Riot decided to make a formal esports league in Mexico. I understand that there had been events before that.
Yeah, probably small. Local instruments.
I'm not going to say small because esports is anything but
that's
small.
True. Yeah, that's true.
But probably not as formal as it could have been, as it is in some other parts of the world. So they decided to create an actual Riot-sponsored League of Legends league in Mexico. So they commissioned us to make a video that would run during the presentation event that was held in a stadium, like everything that they do with esports. They don't do it like in small backdoor events.
Yeah.
No, it's go big or go bust. So we did a little video that features some of the characters in the game as I don't know, like in story they were doing the stuff that they do in the game. And later in the video, it is revealed that each one of the characters is an actual Mexican gamer.
Yeah.
They kind of shed the costume, and they are revealed. The actual designs were caricatures of the players. So if you knew them, you could know that this character uses this particular avatar a lot of the times when he's playing, and then he takes off the costume, and you could recognize the caricature of the guys. So they're fighting over the trophy for the Mexican League, and so it was. I liked the project very much. We had never done anything quite as dynamic. A lot of fighting and characters attacking each other with all these weird powers. And actually, when we were told about this, I had no idea what League of Legends was. So...
well, around what year was this? I'm trying to think of...
7 years ago, you said?
Probably.
Was it 7? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep. No.
But the thing is, we were told about the project, and we basically received a script.
Yeah.
And character designs and all that. So we could start working on the project because we had gotten descriptions of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were working, some of the people decided, well, this kind of looks cool. Let's see what this is about. So they started exploring the game, and let's put it like this. Half of the people were really drawn into the game.
Yep.
And they started having like tournaments between themselves and all that. The other half of the people, me included, were like, what is this? I don't see anything of the animation in this thing. Let's say we were not impressed. But in the end, you start to like find out more about the lore behind League of Legends, and that's when the appreciation
that's really
comes.
Where the meat is, honestly.
That's when you realize, oh, these guys have done such a marvelous background work for all this, like all the backstories, all the thought that has gone into the actual powers of the characters.
Yeah, and the character design sometimes too,
Yeah, all of that is beautiful.
Yeah.
I just don't love the game.
I think it's such a weird game to get into, especially if you haven't played. What kind of game is it? It's a
MOBA.
Yeah, it's a MOBA. It was the first MOBA I've ever played. It's so confusing. To this day, it's confusing to me. And I remember I tried it, and I was younger, and I wasn't immediately good at it, so I was like, I'm not gonna play this. And then one character. I saw one character. They got reworked. They had new like splash art for the character. New and Willump, and I told my brother he loves the game. I was like, "Who is that?" He's like, "Oh, a character that they just revamped and they changed a little bit." I was like, "Never mind. I want to play this game now." And I got back into it, and it's just so much. I was playing it earlier today. It's still fun. It definitely, the characters definitely drive the interest for me every single time. That's why I keep coming back. They add something new, and it's like, oh, they expanded on that story, and it ties into that. That's why I keep coming back, and that's just where the fun at Riot is.
Just for Carl and me, I'm gonna say it's been 0 days since we're back to 0 days
since
you
brought up
played.
League.
No, since you played it.
That's true. Yeah.
We don't count broading up. But yeah, that's definitely one of the laws of the universe. You never just find League of Legends or you just start playing it. You always hear it from
it
you always hear it
finds
from
you.
someone else. Someone else teaches you. It's like, hey, even from a job, for example, but one does not simply just start playing it.
Yeah. It's always someone else gets you into it.
just
One
play
does not simply
League
just
of
start
Legends.
playing League.
And I gotta say that I found it really easy to stay away from it. I never discovered the thrill of the actual game.
No, that's fair.
I mean,
that's fine.
But the thing is also, I have to admit that I've never been a gamer myself. I love the gaming industry, but mostly because I love watching the cinematics behind most of the games.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
For example, I remember that not too long ago. Well, no, probably it's been too long ago now. Like 3 or 4 years, somebody put together like every cinematic that had been published for the Overwatch games.
The Overwatch cinematics
they're
are
so
really good.
Yeah.
And
those are really good.
yeah, I mean, seeing 1 or 2 is great, but this was like a feature film.
Yeah.
It was like 2 hours of cinematic after cinematic, and they all kind of tell a coherent story, and they were beautifully animated. The characters are incredibly well designed and charming, and so well animated that it was a marvel to behold. Then we have the cinematics for all the Star Wars games, which are what a lot of us wish the movies had been, like the recent movies.
True.
And so you can spend hours to no end just watching gaming-related content, official gaming-related content, not to mention all the fan art that is out there that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
For example, I am aware of this game called Genshin Impact.
Yeah, Genshin.
To this day, I haven't ever seen the game.
Yeah.
But just on social networks, I've seen so many artwork coming from fans.
Oh, the fan base is very dedicated when it comes to artwork.
Definitely.
Shout out to Katie, who's a fan.
Katie loves it. Yeah. Brings it up all the time, and it's fun talking about Genshin with her. I don't know anything about the game. I don't know about the characters. I don't know what they do. But I'm like, yeah, I remember that one because he looks cool. I'm like, I know that guy. But yeah.
Pretty much. And it's possible to like be a fan of an industry that you know so or have so little hands-on experience on, just because all the support artwork that exists, either coming straight from the companies or from the fans. And I would say that that's as far as my personal involvement goes. The only, probably the only exception, I mean, being a lousy gamer myself, I just enjoy watching people play. For example, when the first console that I ever bought was an Xbox 360, so it's a rather modern thing for me. I mean, I was around when the first Atari was brought to the market.
Yeah, I was expecting like I got a first Nintendo or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
No. It was. I mean, I had friends that had the Atari 3600 and the Intellivision. So those were the first like the consumer game video game consoles that you could get. But I never got one, let's say, as a Christmas present or something like that. and I never really got into gaming myself. So the first one that I bought was the Xbox 360, and turns out, for example, I bought the first 2 Halo games because I had been constantly hearing that those were like the best.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That you had to get them if you got the Xbox. You had to get the Halo games. And to this day, I didn't even manage to finish the first one. But at the time, my eldest kid got his first Assassin's Creed game.
Oh, Assassin's
Cool.
Creed.
And to me, for example, I could be working at home, and watching him play was like watching a movie because he
Yeah,
Yeah.
Assassin's
could
Creed's very.
he could go so fast through the scenarios and like complete the game's objectives that to me it was watching a movie. And I remember that I watched the whole thing through his controller, and I enjoyed it very much. So far, I think he's finished every Assassin's Creed game so far. Maybe save the last couple.
Yeah, they've made
Yeah.
a
A
few
lot.
in
There were a
last years
lot.
I haven't seen yet,
Hmm.
but I used to.
But
love Assassin's
by that
Creed,
moment,
yeah.
he was already in college, so it was kind of busy. Let's
Yeah.
put it like that. But yeah, video games have such cool stories and such cool art design. Another one that left me very, very impressed was Detroit Becoming Human.
Oh,
Oh.
Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I played through it.
I remember that one I found, I don't even remember how, a streaming gamer that had recorded his sessions. So it was like 8 or 10 1-hour sessions.
Yeah, because it's pretty long.
It,
Yeah.
it is a
it's
pretty long game, but to me it was like watching a
Yeah.
miniseries.
Yeah.
Like forget about Game of Thrones, just watch
And
Detroit.
it's pretty tense at times too. Playing the game, there was times I had to put it down. I couldn't making decisions. I can't do that. And yeah, that was so much fun.
Yeah, especially that studio, Quantic Dream.
Uh-huh.
All their games are so cinematic.
Want to move the thing closer? Yeah, I got you. Keep going.
Yeah, just Maya.
No, he's good. He's talking
Awesome.
about me.
Thank you, Carl. But yeah, they make all their games are just so cinematic that you can practically just watch them like part of this miniseries, as you said,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't lose any bit except all the stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for example, when you're the one playing it, you get the stress.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're
For
watching
example,
someone play it,
This
it's different.
this gamer that I don't even remember the name of, he was so good at the game that, for example, you know how you attempt things but you miss and you have to
Yeah.
start again, or you like get killed and have to return to a previous saving point. This guy was so good that he was just like making decisions and completing the challenges, that it did feel like a movie. It didn't take you longer,
Yeah, there
or
wasn't
you
a lot of
didn't have to make pauses.
Yeah, it didn't take you out of the immersion.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was also such an interesting story.
Yeah.
And for example, he did it once, like not necessarily being Mr. Nice Guy, but he did it like trying to accomplish the objectives of the game.
Yeah.
But then he did another run at it being the nastiest person.
You always see those. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play the game kind of regular, a little nice," and then you go back and they're like, "This time, I'm not holding anything back.
I'm
not
going
holding
to
anything."
take the worst possible life choices
Exactly.
Yeah.
ever.
Those are always so hard to watch, though, because like anytime I watch someone play through a game like that, like Detroit Become Human, that's how I started playing it, because I was watching someone play it and they made the worst decision. Now I'm like, now I gotta play it and fix it for them, because I can't watch them go through this playthrough, because it's the butterfly effect. It all comes back. So I had to play through the game myself. I couldn't do it. I was like, I need to do the perfect run in my eyes now, because the way they're doing it is not cutting it. But yeah.
I need this to be a nice experience. So
I
I,
know.
have to,
I was like, I
have to
can't.
fix the world.
I can't do it.
For anyone who doesn't know, Detroit Become Human is this interactive game.
Would you even explain that? Yeah.
Yeah, we can explain. So
You just
Move
move
it a
closer.
little bit. You
Yeah,
move
go
it closer,
closer.
and then you move it just a tiny bit.
I got you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, we good?
Yeah.
Nice. Detroit Become Human, yeah. So it's this very cinematic type of game. There are really there are very little few controls you really use. It's about AI and it's 3 different perspectives, right? It's like
It's what are their
co-op.
names? Yeah, it's. Oh no, I played this game. I should know. It's Kara. What's his name? That one dude and then the other dude, Connor.
Connor. And
Connor, Kara,
Yeah.
and
what's his name?
Adam
the black guy.
Yeah, what's his
Yeah.
name? Oh. And he's so important to the story.
Yeah.
Why am I
Yes.
forgetting his name?
I don't know. I just watch it
Yeah.
like a movie, so
Yeah.
I can say I forget.
Yeah.
You played it.
Listen.
You
listen,
played it.
listen. I don't know. I remember a lot of Connor and Kara's POVs, but his story's kind of fuzzy. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a few years. I played it when
Yeah.
it kind of came out.
It's been like 7 years, something like that.
Oh man, I didn't know that they rigged. I don't know exactly what that's called, but how Connor looks like his actual voice actor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that because I
Also
remember.
Kara.
Yeah, and Kara, yeah, because I saw an interview. It was like, interview with the voice actors. I'm like, no, that's him in
That's
the
the
game. I was like,
dude.
oh, that's him. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they scan their faces and
Yeah.
they also do the mocap themselves.
Yeah, mocap. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, that was insane when I first found out. They did a really good job on that. I'd have to
Actually,
say.
Quantic Games made quite a splash in the animation industry because they, before actually releasing the game, they released a little short where you see Kara being like coming out of the assembly lines. She gets like quality control tests, and since she displays a little bit of
Was it Deviant?
she was a deviant. So she is supposed to be sent back for disassembly.
Yeah.
So she starts pleading for her life and actually convinces the quality control guy to just send her out into the world. But it was the first time that any of us had seen a movie rendered in real time. I mean, it was not animated on real time,
Yeah.
but it was rendered on real time on the game's engine. And the visual quality was so good that we were all floored. Like, you're telling me that this happens on real time? Like,
Yeah.
when you play, it's going to look like this? Because before that, it was unheard of. To get that good quality of image, you had to send it to a render farm, and it would take hours for every single frame. And there we had a video where it was all done in real time, and we couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And that was like a good maybe year before the game came out, maybe even longer. So we also knew that a lot of that was mocapped. So of course we hated criticizing that. We were all like, this would look so much better if they actually animated it and all that. But when it comes, we weren't aware that this was like a test run for a video game, and of course having so much more assets to animate in a video game because it's a whole world.
Yeah, you're seeing
It
everything.
made sense to mocap it, but as for a short film, we were like, could be better.
Yeah, that's nice, but you know.
But then we saw the actress, and it's like, wow, that's her.
Yeah.
That's the character. She exists.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I remember seeing just the thumbnail of the video of like, interviewing, the actors. I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw the voice actor for Connor sitting next to someone. It blew my mind again. I didn't know it, and I think it was a little bit more fun to find out after the fact, because it just made me way more impressed. Just going back and playing it another time, I was like, how did they do this? This is insane. But yeah, Detroit Become Human. That's not the same studio that did, what is it, Until Dawn? I know they do the same thing with their voice actors and actresses where they mocap their face. I can't remember what that studio. I think it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
But it's just the way that they mocap.
Yeah.
I don't know how similar it is, but I know they do something similar.
Well, the thing with technology is that there's always the leading studio that
Yeah.
develops it first, and then the rest of the studios realize, oh, that's a sound production technique. Let's do it
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And then you have like, what is it, like the
What, Cyberpunk?
cyberpunk Keanu Reeves.
Oh.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves,
Uh,
yeah.
So it's there's always a first company that does something, and then the technology is so readily available that it's not that complicated for the rest to follow suit.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know, like with the things that Cameron is doing for Avatar,
Oh.
they feel out there the first time you see them, but then I'm betting that in 10 years it's going to be such a common production technique that it's going to be, yeah, it's like,
It's like, oh,
that's
Yeah,
that's the way
hopefully.
movies are
Yeah.
done, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like now for us seeing, I don't know, Back to the Future or Star Wars, and it's like, and our parents are like, what do you mean? It was the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was. If you compare when I mean, I don't even remember seeing Star Wars in movie theaters, like not the first one. I remember Empire Strikes Back
Mhm.
and Return of the Jedi, but at the time you could find nothing that looked like that. Just the shock of seeing a realistic space battle was unheard of. I mean, what the previous hit that was featured in space was 2001, and everything is so slow
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you just kind of. I mean, I love the movie. It's a great movie, but you have to be honest. Like you see it and you're like dozing off. and
Very
is-
different type
Is
of movie.
is the is the
Star
space
Wars
traveling
very
scene
quick.
finally
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else happens, and then they start traveling through space again, and it's like so. Or before that, like the previous big action movie was Buck Rogers, and if you have ever seen that, you'll cry your eyes out laughing because it was so cheesy and it was so poorly done. But that was what was available at the time.
Yeah.
And then you see something like Star Wars, and we were totally blown away by that. And probably the next great thing that I saw at the movies was when I saw Terminator 2.
Oof.
Like the T-1000,
T-1000.
all the transformation scenes.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting in the movie and I was like,
Hmm.
how? Because at the time, everybody that I knew of, like all of my friends, had seen a lot of behind the scene features about Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all were aware of the process. Like you film something on a green screen or blue screen, and then you mat the blue out and composite that with another shot that has just the background and all that. But then you see something morphing right in front of your eyes and reflecting the world around it,
Yeah.
and I was like, but how? And after that, I would say that my next movie shock was when I saw Jurassic Park,
Oh.
because those actually I would say that that's the movie where special effects become absolutely invisible. Before that, even with T2, you could say this is a special effects movie just because it looked different.
Mhm.
It had a
Yeah.
different image quality to it, and you could spot them. But in Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs, I mean, you know that they're not alive, but you
But
see
still,
the
yeah.
quality of the image, and they're there. They move in a entirely natural way. They interact with the actors in an entirely believable way. So the way they mixed the animatronics and CGI and all the effects that they did was so beautifully done that that's the movie where effects become invisible. And after that, anything that doesn't look absolutely real, you know that it's because it didn't have enough time or enough budget,
Yeah.
but not because the technique wasn't ready for prime time. But before that, you could tell. You could tell like this is a prop. This is CGI.
Yeah.
This is I don't know, matte painting. You were able to tell. But after Jurassic Park, it was like, well, who knows? I guess dinosaurs may be alive.
Yeah, I guess they are real. The
Yeah.
movie just said they are, so I guess they are. I mean, even seeing it now, it's still
Yeah.
impressive. I've gone back and watched Jurassic Park. It was kind of one of those movies where it took me a while to like actually sit down and watch it, because it's that movie everyone talks about, like, oh, it's so good, it's so good. And I sat down and I was like, no, they're right. I'm like, yeah, that's good. That first scene where you get to actually fully see them, like, that was fun. Dinosaurs walking, we were just learning about that in History of Animation, of how they got them to walk, and FK and IK legs. That was interesting to learn about,
Yeah.
but that's another story.
How they blended just environment with.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, watching Jurassic Park, as a kid, I also heard, oh, it's so good and people love it, but like just the logo itself. But I had never seen it. And when they were introducing, well, in Mexico we call it 4DX, and it's this like movie theaters that you get into and they move the chair and they vibrate and they throw it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And so when it was new, they were just putting old movies, like very big movies, to show people how it was, because there were no new movies that had implemented it. So it was Star Wars and Jurassic Park. That was my first time watching Jurassic Park, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, that looks so real. And I was like, but is this old?
Yeah, that's one movie that doesn't look old at all.
Yeah.
If it had been premiered yesterday, it would hold up.
Yeah.
No, it still would, yeah.
Except you would say, how did they de-age?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know what
the
you're talking
mathematician.
about.
I
Yeah,
forgot
I
the
can't
name.
remember. I can't remember either.
It's
We talk about all these things we like, and then it's like, can you name one character? I can't remember his name. And
Malcolm.
I know it. But
The character's name Malcolm, but I tried to remember the actor's name, and it slipped my mind.
Jeff Goldblum. Jeff
Goldblum,
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you premiered that today, they would only ask, how did they de-age Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those movies that really have held up to the passage of time in a way that probably Star Wars hasn't. You see Star Wars and you see that it's aged.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad, but it's
But
aged.
it's, yeah, you can tell. It's a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Not something that came out just yesterday.
Yeah, definitely something that happens when you're the first one trying to do something new.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's also got to do with like the sensibility, the cinematic sensibility of the time.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
they have.
If you see, I don't know, there are a lot of movies that are just so much of their time. For example, if you see like Eddie Murphy's comedies, or if you see Bruce Willis's action movies, they share like a whole vibe that makes them feel like really a 90s movie. Or and for example, Marvel movies do have that.
Yeah.
They feel like such 2000 movies.
They do.
And probably in like 30 years, we're going to look back on those movies and feel like, oh, this feels so 2000. And it's really hard to point out, like, it is because of this and this and this. It's just too hard. But they do share a certain cinematic language with all the movies that were done pretty much at the same time. If you see Die Hard, and you see Lethal Weapon, and you see what was that called? Like Blind Rage, I think, or something like that. Probably not such a famous movie. It was the actor is Rutger Hauer. Uh, he's supposed to be like a blind martial artist. But, it was a cool movie back in the day. Or you see Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh yeah.
They all feel so similar,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to pinpoint it's because of this, other than the sexist jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to seeing a movie and it feeling dated, it's a lot to do with the way they thought of cinema at the time, and not just the movie effects themselves. Because, for example, there's movies that do really good special effects, and they feel modern, or but not because of the effects, but because of the cinema language that they use. And trying to remember which one feels like that. Because, for example, another movie that I love, which is Labyrinth,
Oh.
it also feels really old by now. I love it, but you can see that the pacing that it's got and the way they chose to edit the movie, the musical numbers, feels like really old.
Are you talking about another movie? Are you talking about Pan's Labyrinth? What
No,
movie
no,
am
no.
I was like, what movie?
just Labyrinth.
Oh.
Yeah, I
The one
think
with
David Bowie and
Oh,
The one
that's
that's got,
right,
like,
yeah.
the baby.
Yeah.
The baby, yeah.
He throws in the air.
I don't remember that part, but I was like Pan's Labyrinth. I was like, oh,
Also,
okay.
apparently, Blind Rage is about a CIA agent, and he's like closing the cases of five blind bank robbers in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Wow!
There you
Shout
go.
out to Philippines.
Oh,
Apparently.
maybe I don't remember all that. But I do remember that he had a cane, and at some point, like in the final fight, the cane kind of clicks, and it's a katana.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So
Sounds like Daredevil though.
no, because Daredevil uses like nunchucks.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just one of those movies that lasted for a really, really, really long time in movie theaters back then. But yeah, it's movies like Labyrinth kind of did get old, or maybe like Willow, which was also one of the first big movies after Star Wars that George Lucas did.
I need to see more movies. Apparently.
Maybe
I'm
so.
trying, maybe I need to see more movies.
But the thing is, all these movies happened ages before you were even born. So I would be concerned, for example, if you were interested in seeing today's movies, because that is like the main environment that you're exposed to. And of course, there are great movies from other years that I would suggest that everybody watches. But I think I've come to expect that a lot of them will just not be popular anymore. If I mention them, I know they won't resonate with the younger crowd as much as they do with my own, let's say, classmates. And movies that are essential to me, maybe I just say the name and you're going to be like, huh. For example, there was this movie called The Goonies.
Oh, I love
Oh,
the Goonies. Yeah. See, there we go.
Yay!
I knew I'd get one. I was like, I'm just gonna wait till he says one. I definitely know. Yeah.
I haven't watched The Goonies.
You
Like,
never seen The Goonies?
I have to. I know I
We
have to, but
couldn't
I haven't
have one
seen them.
movie we both have in common. Oh man, that's a fun movie. I haven't seen that in a while, but it's definitely something that my family would play every fall. I don't know why specifically in fall, but I don't know. Fall-esque movie. Yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe like Die Hard is such a Christmas movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, why does everyone say?
yeah.
Oh, it's
It
because the
is, it
yeah,
is.
that's right. I forgot about
It is
that.
the Christmas
Yeah,
The
we're-
Christmas.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna get into this argument again.
I don't want to argue. I just didn't get it the first time. I still need to see some of the Die Hard movies.
Just watch the first three.
Is that the ticket not to watch anymore?
Honestly, the first one is the best one.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can live and die only watching the first Die
What
Hard.
happens? Like, can I get like a synopsis? What happens in Die Hard?
Okay. This badass cop flies to LA to visit his, at that moment, his wife, but they're getting a divorce.
Oh, okay.
They're like falling out. So I actually seem to remember that he's only flying to meet her to actually sign the papers, right?
Jeez.
No, they are meeting for Christmas because it's Christmas.
I mean, it's Christmas.
Oh,
but
and this is why.
No, because she lives with the kids.
Oh, and he's just visiting his children too.
Yeah, and they wanna. So in the beginning of the movie, it's in an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So he explains this to someone else, and you kind of think like, oh, what's a relationship? But when they see each other, they want to like get back together, but then they have another argument.
Well, it's like he wants to, but they're also very stubborn, so they end up having a fight, and they go to a Christmas party of her company in the Nakatomi building.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that there's a criminal band that is planning a heist in the Nakatomi Tower that precise day because they know that it's going to be mostly deserted save for that party. And I won't say any more because that would kind of spoil it. And it is a good movie, a very good movie.
And they've made how many more Die Hard movies?
5.
How do they? Okay.
Well, the thing is, after that first movie, every Christmas with this guy.
Oh,
for example,
he just can't have a normal Christmas.
he can't. The second one is also very good. I would argue.
The second one is the
third
same
one
in
is-
an airport.
Yeah.
So they just keep changing locations
Basically.
in a sense.
Until the third one is just New York. The fourth one is, and fifth one I don't know. I just know that 4 and 5 don't have a lot to do with it. But yeah, also the great thing is it's only the Nakatomi building, the whole movie.
I do like movies that, what is it called, a lighthouse episode or a bottle episode where they could do it all in one kind of location. That's why I like Bullet Train so much. I love Bullet Train. That was a good one. Have you seen it?
Not yet.
You'd like it. If you ever watch it, talk to me first. I want to hear your opinion on it because I do love that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will
So
watch it.
who's the guy in that? Who's the main? Like, who's the actor?
Bruce Willis.
Oh, Bruce
Actually,
Willis.
that's
oh,
the
okay.
movie that cements him as an action star.
Really?
Because before that, he was known by a kind of a romantic comedy.
More like Sixth Sense? Or was
No.
that later?
That was way later.
Oh, okay.
It was called. I forgot. It's just because I never watched it too much.
Oh, okay.
It was with Sybil Shepherd, and it was a romantic comedy. And so Bruce Willis was like a known actor, not terribly popular, but also not terribly impressive either.
Okay.
But then Die Hard happens, and it was like the biggest movie at the time. And of course, what happened was that after that, everybody wanted to make an action movie.
Oh,
So that's
why.
when Lethal Weapon happened.
Yeah.
That's when the Beverly Hills Cop movies happened.
Really?
That created a lot of the action movie scene in the late 80s. And that also boosted Bruce Willis's career because after that, he got the rest of the Die Hard movies. He did Sixth Sense. He did The Fifth Element, which also a very good movie, The Fifth Element.
That rom-com you're talking about is called Moonlighting.
Moonlighting.
Yeah. And but yeah, that's what actually boosted him into the scene in a way that he had never foreseen.
That makes me wonder if that was kind of the action movie that got a lot of people to make more action movies. That makes me wonder what one of the first superhero movies was of just recent times, because they were really popular a few years ago.
That would be either The Mask or
You
Blade.
think? Oh, really?
Of like, well, it depends like what age, right? Because if you go like way back, it's
Well, it was
Batman.
probably, yeah.
Well, it was, yeah, but there was. We had like the Batman movies, which were the first two were really great, and then it started to fade out,
Yeah.
fade out, fade out. So by the fifth movie, it was a joke. So I wouldn't say that Batman got to start the trend, because only the first two movies are done like with respect of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, for example, we got Blade, which was also great action movie. Had a very well-known star, Wesley Snipes.
With Snipes.
It was filmed beautifully. It had it all. Like it was a great action movie. Probably the thing is, not a lot of people knew that it was a Marvel character, so a lot of people saw that as an action movie,
Yeah.
a cool action movie, and that was it. And then after that, we got, wasn't it Batman though?
No, then like, but that time it, yeah,
Like
because
Nolan's Batman. I mean,
Yeah.
but before it would have been Spider-Man and X-Men.
Spider-Man and X-Men.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man happened first. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
No, it was X-Men.
Was it
X-Men
X-Men?
first.
But both
no, I
both were
think
done
Spider-Man.
like
I think it was
around the
Spider-Man.
same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But both were like really solid movies. But this time with really known characters.
Yeah.
Because Blade before that, it was like nobody knew Blade, but everybody knew Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had heard of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Not as popular as Spider-Man, but it was done so well that I think both of those are the ones that more Spider-Man than the X-Men.
Apparently,
Oh.
Spider-Man came out like a few months before X-Men.
Oh, so it was really.
But they were in
close.
production right around
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, for me, like those were the movies that I loved as a kid, like
Mm.
both X-Men and Spider-Man. So I'm talking from the heart here, like with passion. Like it's my League of Legends. I'm sorry.
It's
sorry.
like, whoa. Who was the first Spider-Man? That was
Tobey
Tobey
Maguire.
Maguire.
Dude, he creeps me out.
He was
What?
No, he's. I've seen now. My brother loves Spider-Man, and he's like, "You got to watch all the movies now." And I have. I mostly have. He's cool. He's a good Spider-Man. There's just scenes sometimes where he stares into the camera, and it looks like he's staring straight at me. And that's he's a good actor. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
but
I'm not
that's
gonna.
it.
He peers into your
I
soul.
know,
and
that unsettles
I don't
you.
like that. Like
Don't-
he's like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, and then he just stares at the camera for 3 seconds, and then keeps doing something else. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't.
there's this one where he's looking out his window and he's just like super dramatic. Am I not supposed to have what I want? What I need?
I thought he was talking to me specifically when he said that. And then what? It's the next Spider-Man. That's
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. He's cool. I've heard. This isn't my opinion. This is everyone I talk to. Everyone says that he just that I think they say that the writing just wasn't fully there. They said that he's a great actor. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of his movies. I'm gonna be honest, but they said
Yeah,
that the
he's really
writing
good.
just wasn't as cool as it could have been. It was nice, but
He wasn't as focused. Like,
yeah, that's
he, he would have worked a lot better if he was college, more
Mm.
adult character, not a teenager.
Well, I don't know about that. What I do feel is that both the actor and the part were written too cool for Peter Parker.
Definitely.
He is
Because
supposed to be
Peter
kinda
Parker is
nerdy
supposed to
and-
be a loser.
Yeah.
He's the guy that is bullied all the time, and you see Andrew Garfield and you think that's not the bullied guy, that's
the prom king or something.
that's the prom king, yeah. But for example, you see both Tobey Maguire and you see
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, and you see that's the guy
Yeah.
that gets bullied.
That's when I started getting into Spider-Man. Is when Tom Holland started doing his movies. Because before then, I was like, yeah, my brother likes Spider-Man, and I've played Spider-Man on the PS2. I didn't know what was happening, but I enjoyed that game when I was a kid. But I started getting into it, and I think he likes we just went over the names. He likes the first Spider-Man the most. That's his favorite one. I like Tom Holland, but he says he
We
claims.
both give thumbs
Yeah,
up.
he claims that I like Tom Holland because I like Peter Parker more as a character than Spider-Man. That's what he says. I like both. I think Tom Holland's like a dork and he's awkward, and I think that works for Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think he's supposed to be, kind of like weird kid, doing his own thing in the back of the class.
But the one thing that Tom Holland doesn't have and it is a problem for Peter Parker, is Peter Parker as like the core of the character is he's very troubled for being Spider-Man. He gets screwed over and over again by J. Jonah Jameson, by his teachers, by his classmates. So he is a miserable kid. And for example, for as much as I love Tom Holland's acting, he's just too happy. He enjoys his life so much, and he enjoys his friendship with Ned, and he enjoys all the adventures that he has as Spider-Man. So I feel like he's like an alternate version of the character.
Where everything went right?
Where everything went right. And on the first, on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, you see him getting screwed over time and again. He loses his job because he can't be on time. He almost fails at college because he doesn't have time to do all his homework because he's tired because of saving the world. So that is the Spider-Man that Marvel created, that good old Stan wrote first, and that Steve Ditko penciled. That is the complicated character that hates being a superhero, but he's got this responsibility, this huge responsibility in his hands, because he's the only one that can deal with these problems. That's what is always weighing on him, and that's what's never quite allowing him to enjoy his human side of life, like his life as Peter Parker. And that's something that Tobey Maguire did show that neither Andrew nor Tom did. So as much as, for example, I see Andrew Garfield and I see him and I like him.
Yeah.
He's just such a likable guy that it's impossible to feel like
to dislike him.
It's impossible to see him appear on screen and not feel like you're cheering the guy. But that's not that's not Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Of course, the Spider-Man side of the character was done beautifully by all three. I wasn't quite behind the idea of organic webbing on the Tobey Maguire movies.
Oh, really?
I mean, one of the things that also define Peter Parker is that he's a great scientist.
Yeah.
So one of the great achievements is that he manages to invent the web shooters. And one of the main problems that he faces all the time when fighting crime is that he runs out of webbing, or that maybe he gets hit on the shooters on the jam, or they just break down, and he has to find out all the ways to solve the problem. So that kept happening over and over. And if he has like these organic web shooters, then they're kind of it's like deciding that Thor doesn't quite need the hammer.
Sure. I mean, they can sometimes, I don't know, sometimes people talk about they can create problems with the organic webbing, like maybe it's a fatigue thing, like it may run out, but I get what you're saying.
No, and actually they deal pretty nicely with that on the second movie.
They do?
Yeah, with his existential crisis.
Mm-hmm. So he
Maya, half of the movie he's not Spider-Man.
I've seen them, but I've seen them in pieces, so I can't remember what happens in the first.
What do you mean Maya's the best one?
Which one for the first? Yeah, because in the first one he also has to. Not the first Spider-Man, he also has to deal with Venom at some point.
That's on the third movie.
Yeah.
That's the third one. Yeah. Oh, I didn't like him in the third movie, but it's just because when Venom takes him over, he becomes a jerk.
What do you mean? That's the funniest part when he's dancing. You don't like the dancing?
We don't talk about that as they say in the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I don't.
That was so awesome.
I don't know. I didn't know he was taken over by Venom at the time. I walked in halfway through the movie. I was like, why is he such a jerk? They're like, don't worry about it. It wasn't explained to me until the bell scene. I was like, oh, okay, now I know.
She's like, why is it because I'm alive?
Yeah, I was like, oh, I guess that's Spider-Man. Who knows?
Yeah, you probably must have been very confused.
I was, yeah. My brother didn't want to explain it. He's like, it's Spider-Man, don't worry about it.
She's just very into it and like, it's Venom. And you're like, what?
I'm like, who? Yeah. I still need to see the more recent Venom movies.
Are
Are they worth it? Are they not worth it?
I think they're worth it. The second one, I don't know. But
The first one, okay, I have a very funny story about the first one. So, when they were promoting it, it's Tom Hardy. This is very big, like Venom. He eats a guy's head in the movie, and so they promoted it as being a very violent movie. And I took my grandmother to see Venom.
Why?
For
Did
fun.
she like it?
Here's the thing, she loved it. You have no
Oh,
idea.
okay.
She couldn't stop laughing at it. It's such a it's not so much of an action movie. It's like a body relationship movie between this guy
Yeah,
and
I've
Venom,
heard that's kind of.
and how they're both losers.
Yeah.
And at one point, Tom Hardy gets he eats like a live lobster or something.
Is that the? I
in
thought
a
that was in the first
restaurant.
one when he's in the lobster tank.
Yeah, and so I love it because it's so corny in a way. And so with the second one, the marketing was like, he's not fighting Karen, it's gonna be super awesome. And I was like, I cannot wait to see how goofy it gets, and it doesn't. It just
No, it
it's
doesn't.
just boring. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they're not the worst movies that I've seen, but yeah, they're. I wouldn't go out of my way to go watch them.
If it's on, it's on. If it's okay.
Woody Harrelson was great as Carnage.
Oh, that was
He
him.
was
Yeah, that's
with
right.
he was wearing a wig, right?
Yeah.
It looked like he was. Yeah, it looked like he was wearing a wig.
Yeah, but
He was
that
Carnage.
that
There
was
a
probably the greatest misuse of an actor.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't know what to do with him. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that there's a lot of people in Hollywood that know how to make movies, and even if you give them the crappiest script and the worst designed visual effects material, they're going to do something watchable, and that's
Yeah.
what happened to Venom. The acting wasn't great, didn't suck. It was a fun movie going experience, but it's not a memorable
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
The acting definitely carries that movie.
Okay.
Mm.
I'd still say one of my favorite Spider-Man just series was Spectacular Spider-Man. I love
Shout out to Spectacular Spider-Man. It was so good.
I thought the love triangle thing they I hate it when they try and insert love triangles where there doesn't need to be love triangles just to add drama.
But that was good. That was actually good. Come
I
on.
don't know. He should have just been with what's her name?
Which one?
Not Gwen. Well, no. 'Cause
Mary Jane.
No. Oh no. No, because there's Mary Jane, Gwen, and then that one girl, Liz.
Liz.
He was kind of good with Liz. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but the point is it ended. That's the whole
That's
point.
true. It ended. We never got to see how it ended. Spectacular Spider-Man was great. Venom was in that one, and that was kind of cool watching Venom.
I don't think I ever saw. Well, I don't know. Maybe I saw an episode or two, but honestly, there's been a lot of Spider-Man TV shows
There
Yeah.
has been.
that I haven't got to see because they're like not on the streaming service that I have at the
Yeah.
moment,
Oh, yeah.
or I just don't have the time. So when you just said Spectacular Spider-Man, I'm like,
Yeah,
which one is that? Which one is? Which
They're
one is
so-
Yeah, shout out. It's the best one.
It
Okay.
really is.
It is
was
the
really
best one.
good.
Okay.
It's kind of how I got more into it. My brother's like, "Oh, just watch Spectacular Spider-Man. It's fun. I like the villains. I like that Spider-Man's villains are just kind of regular people that just also got dealt a bad hand sometimes. I mean, it's different. There's a lot, and there's probably some I don't know.
Except Venom.
That's true,
Except
except
Venom.
Venom. I like how he knows most of these people,
Mhm.
and he always just trying to help them in some way. Sometimes they just need to stop whatever they're doing because
Mhm.
they're hurting other people. But sometimes he's like, I know. I don't want to say the "this isn't you" moment, but he's like, "This isn't you. Like, you're better than this." I don't know. I thought they did that really well in that series, but
Do you know
the
where that is streaming?
it's on
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
It might be, yeah.
Okay.
It's short series because it got cut off.
Yeah.
Legal stuff or something like that. But it's the best. It's better than some movies. Honestly.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
I'm trying to remember.
I'm
what
gonna
are
have
the-
to watch it.
What are the other Spider-Man? So there's Amazing Spider-Man. I heard that one's. Is it Amazing Spider-Man?
That was the movie with
No.
Andrew Garfield.
No. There's another show. What's the other one that they made after Spectacular that
The
people?
Ultimate.
The
Ultimate Spider-Man.
That
Again.
was.
I
heard it was okay.
That
Haven't
was
watched
not
it.
good.
Yeah, I heard
That was not good.
compared to Spectacular, but
Never watched it.
Yeah, I'd say watch Spectacular. Maybe not Ultimate, but
Yeah.
maybe start with Spectacular.
Yeah,
maybe watch one
the
episode.
best comparison we can give you is Spectacular Spider-Man is Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are emoji movie.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear.
very clear.
So you just watch that. Yeah, you're gonna love it. The animation, it's 2D animation, the fighting, the scenes, the story, great.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I can take that as a recommendation.
Yeah.
Great.
Carl says that we have to wrap up soon. Thanks, Carl.
Who's getting presents?
Yeah, right. I'm really good at wrapping up presents, actually. If anyone has a present that they need wrapped up for the holidays, me. I actually love wrapping up presents. That's a side note. That's a side tangent. Side thing about me, I love doing that. It's like my favorite thing every year.
Side gig, if you want presents wrapped, you
Let me
can
do
hire
it.
Maya.
Let me do it, please. I like making them look really nice. And then people tear them apart, and I'm like, oh, man. I make them knowing they're going to be destroyed in just a few hours. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like
But-
sand art.
Yeah, yeah, true. But yeah, watch Spectacular Spider-Man, hire me to wrap presents. That's how we're ending. Yeah, it was great having you on. It was really
thank
fun.
you very much
yeah.
for your time, Fernando.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Yeah.
We can do this for some other episode, and we'll talk about maybe by that moment
Yeah,
I will
we'll
have
watch-
watched Spectacular
And
Spider-Man.
I'll watch the 10 movies that you said I didn't. What was it? Labyrinth. Die
Die
Hard.
No. Watch
I'll watch Die Hard.
Hard.
I'll watch Die Hard.
And watch probably Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon.
I haven't seen
is
Lethal
is,
Weapon.
It's
one
good.
that you need
Yeah.
to watch.
Okay, I'll watch Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
And that kind of sums up the 90s,
Yeah.
late 80s,
Early
early
90s.
90s action scene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, Lethal Weapon, Rush Hour, but a little bit more
Rush
serious.
Hour.
Yeah, Rush Hour is fun. Rush Hour is its own thing, but
Yeah.
We don't have the time, but next episode we're
Yeah,
gonna delve
we're
into
going
Rush
to.
Hour and Johnny English.
Johnny English.
Carl
oh
and
my
I
God.
love Johnny English. But anyway, thank you so much for
thank
joining.
you so
We'll see you
much.
next time. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.